Welcome, everyone, to week 4 of the 2021 Spring Split Amazon University Esports CSGO tournament, brought to you by the new one, of course, our sponsors, Unite Students, Twitch Student, and, of course, Logitech G. My name is Novi Kane, and I'm ecstatic to be here once again with my partner in crime from week 1. It's Zach. How you doing?
I'm doing great, yeah, and we've got some really good games today, I think. Of course, we've got UWE Sea Stags versus Lancaster coming in first, but before we go into any of that, I think best if we just talk about the general tournament info, just to get everybody up to date with what's going on, just in case you're new to the Neil scene coming into this. So, of course, last semester we had a load of games played, and we managed to find the top 12 teams in all of the UK university scene. They entered the Varsity League, and these top 12 will be battling it out for the Varsity playoffs. Of them, 8 of them will go through to the final league, which will determine who the best of the best is in the UK university scene. We've got 2 best of 1 tonight, week 4 out of 5. All the teams have played each other once, other than the 2 teams we've got coming in first, and it should be a really good one coming in.
Yeah, very, very good game. Both teams undefeated and with some real heavy hitters. So there's, of course, as you can see on the top of our screens, it is UEC Stags and half natty head tappers, Lancaster versus the University of West of England. Where to start with these teams? We were looking through the stats before we played, kindly provided by Jake Boy Pro, our producer for tonight. And it's just kind of insane how good some of these players are.
Definitely. There's, of course, the head tappers, Lancaster, as I'm going to call them from now on. They've got some good players on that team. We were looking at the ADR stats. There's, most of them hovering over 80, which you consider to be very good in CSGO. But the UWE Sea Stags, it really is something else at the moment. Most of them well over 100. In the top 10 list, 4 UWE players come up before any of the Lancaster players even touch the list. So really impressive stuff from UWE. Well over 100, some of them.
Yeah, and it's going to be, we expect it from this sort of team to level out that kind of performance. I've had the pleasure of casting them beforehand, and they're always up there. They're always pumping out, like top tier results. And of course, when you've got that firepower, it's almost like it doesn't matter how many strategies you come up with. If you're walking into the hands of Crit or Magic and having a really good day, there's not much that can stand in the way of them. But of course, Lancaster, a team which has been known for especially both firepower, but also the strategic element. They practice very hard. They spend a lot of time. What do you sort of expect we can see out of this team?
Well, they're a team that definitely have played a lot more of those tactical maps. I think coming into this, we've seen them already play. So far, they've played Vertigo once. They've played Nuke 3 times so far. They've had 2 forfeit wins, which have helped them get completely undefeated so far. But at the same time, clearly they know what they're doing. Clearly they've got something in their back pocket. I mean, the maps that they've played the most have been ones that most teams, I think, would generally avoid in this tournament. Vertigo has only been played twice, and they constitute half of all the games that have been played. So they have something in their back pocket. They know what they're doing tactically. I think they've got a strong IGL, and it should be a real sort of battle of the wits coming into this one. Of course, we know that UWE Sea Stags have the firepower, but Lancaster have something a little bit more than that. They maybe don't have the same level of aim ability and the same level of ADR, but they do have the teamwork. I think that maybe UWE Sea Stags might be missing a little bit. Not to go down on them at all. They're an incredible team.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the things that we always sort of discuss is if you don't have that insane firepower, even in top level teams, it's looking at how else can you levy that advantage. It's like, how do we utilize the utility? How do we use even our map pool, just to press the advantage to put us in such a favorable position where even though the opponent is going to be, on it with their headshots, you still can kind of like pull wins out of the bag. I'm just looking at their stats. Half natty head tappers played Nuke 3 times. We discussed it being played more and more. It's becoming more of a common map, but still, it always surprises me getting picked up because it just with the style, with how it plays out, doesn't lend itself to, like insane just puggy fragging ability. There's that coordination involved because you can't just, chuck all your util and run onto the site. There's so many narrow chokeholds. You have to burn your way through and get through. So be interesting if that comes up. However, AUE, I think, like you said, their map pool, Inferno, Overpass, Dust 2, very sort of standard maps, I'd say, and very more puggy, frag heavy, deathmatch sort of style of Counter-Strike.
Definitely. I think that they're as a team, maybe they don't rely on a couple of players, but they definitely are more reliant on fragging than a lot of other teams are. I mean, you look at their stats, and this isn't something against them at all, but Crit, Magic, they're absolutely top of the ADR list. Crit has managed a 2.4 KD so far across all 7 maps that he's played, which is insane. But it's the sort of thing where if Crit disappears in a game, what happens to the C-Stags? Where do they go from there? What do they do? And if Lancaster know what they're doing, if they've scrimmed against this team before, they know how to shut them down on different maps. They've watched the demos. This could be a game that really maybe tilts in their favor after all of this. Of course, C-Stags, I reckon, are probably the team that's going to win this. They know what they're doing, but Lancaster definitely have a chance if they've done any anti-stratting against the C-Stags for tonight.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to what strategies have they developed, what have they been working on, and also map pick as well. Of course, if you've got huge firepower, I see this time and time again, is if you know what position that enemy is going to play in, you just pick off the rest of their team. And doesn't matter how good you are, a 1 versus 3 or 1 versus 4 is ridiculously hard to win, especially consistently. And so it won't surprise me if they sort of pick or lean towards a map in which they can sort of segregate their enemy team out and be able to play the advantage. Okay, Crit's over there. Let's not deal with him. Let's go for the rest of the team and see what advantage we can find. So I expect it to come through. Is there any, thinking map-wise, is there anything that, looking at what both teams played, that you think might come up? I think for me is potentially Overpass might be a middle ground pick that might get through the draft.
I think that it's almost, I don't want to cast his curse and everything, but I really do feel like we're going to see Inferno or Overpass. I think it's the sort of thing where UWC Stags are going to be banning out every single time. They're going to be banning out the nukes, the vertigos, and the like, and we're never going to see them from the Lancaster side. But Lancaster probably going to start banning Dust 2, Mirage, the more scrimmy maps, and we'll end somewhere in the middle. And when that sort of thing happens, the UWC Stags have shown that they can hold their own. You lose a player on one side of the map on Inferno as a CT side, it isn't the end of the world. There's still tons of angles that you can play that can catch the T's out. And so if the C-Stags do get players aimed down, some of the weaker players on the team, not that any of them are weak, but you'll end up seeing still, it'll be a real push for the Lancaster side to get through, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely going to be an uphill battle, I think. But both teams so far undefeated, and so tonight will be the first night we'll have one team, fully ahead in the standings, and one team trailing a little bit. And talking about the rest of the standings, we can look at, not just our two headline event, but also the rest of how the Varsity League is sitting out. We've got, of course, AUE and Lancaster tied first, currently sitting on 7-0 each. Then it's Bath A sitting in third. Very, very, very solid side. Derby Gods and Back Six tied in fourth and fifth. Then Swansea Storm in sixth, tied with Oxford Brooks Vipers. And then BU and a Half Men, followed by Manchester Hive, Kebab Rush A, and then the Kiel Krakens, and of course Notts Freshers at the bottom, who unfortunately forfeited the rest of their matches. So the table is definitely branching out into what we'd expect, but there's still there's some interesting matchups potentially later on in the day. I think the other game we're going to look at, if I'm correct in this, is Derby Gods versus Back Six.
I believe so, yeah.
Yes, and that should be a very interesting one. Both teams tied at the same point, same amount of points. And we've had the pleasure of casting Back Six before as well. So maybe we can, potentially look into that a little bit later as well. But I've heard players should be in the server too, so we should get vetoes soon. You said Overpass and Inferno. Do you think either one lends itself towards? I mean, I'm in agreement with you. I think UE does have, just firepower-wise, is the favourites into this matchup. But do you think Lancaster stands a better chance on Inferno or Overpass?
I'd say definitely. I think probably Inferno would be the map that they would prefer to go onto. Of course, UW are going to be strong on either of them. It's a map that they've played, I think, 2 times each on both of them. They've won both of them. All 4 of those games. So it's absolutely an uphill battle. But Overpass, it definitely lends itself more to just having, if you want, you can just play one player on A. If you really have that fragging ability, and they can just tear teams apart if they don't play well enough. That's on CT, I should add. And if they can't get through that A player, rushing B is a very difficult thing. Throwing the Molotovs on B, it's not an easy task, especially if that's not something you've trained for. We've seen that Lancaster are definitely more towards away from that sort of style of map. They probably haven't scrimmed it quite as much. Yeah, I think Inferno would probably be their safer bet of the two maps for sure. But I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Inferno has the ability, especially like on T side, that they can like sort of scout things out, feel where their CTs are sitting, and go, okay, well, they like crits over there. Let's go A. Let's go to the other side. We don't want to fight him. It's not worth it. But I do think Overpass presents itself with the space, at least, because it's an incredibly large map, to almost move around the issue. Like, if you can find out where he is, you can literally just move around and focus your efforts somewhere else.
Yeah.
And there's also more, I suppose, hiding spots as well. There's more sort of like jammy, ratty little tactics you can do that might catch, experienced player out. And unlike Inferno, where it's a very linear style map, it's like, okay, banana goes to B, and that's it, unless you push through CT. So I think it could, depending how prepared and smart Lancaster is, I think it could lend itself very well. I think both maps are good middle grounds, but then again, UE's going to be very comfortable on them anyway. So how much that matters, I think it might be a little bit irrelevant, actually. Yeah,
for sure. Of course, we're looking at this sort of thing at the moment. Maybe jumping forward a little much, Back Six are a team that have some of the highest ability that we've seen so far, but they aren't doing the best in the table. Of course, you said before, I think they're 5th. And when you look at that, maybe that's something that Lancaster can look at and say, well, UWE, they've got, all of them have high ADR, but if you transfer that to other teams, it's not really been working out for them. I think Back Six, most of them have over 90 ADR or something along those lines, and they're still not top of the, anywhere near top of the table, really. They've lost 3 games, I think, out of the 9 that they've played. So maybe Lancaster can look at that and say, well, you don't have to have the highest ADR to be at the top. I mean, there's a reason Lancaster are unbeaten so far. It's not luck. It's not just getting away with it. They have been a very strong team so far. They've shown in the past that they are a strong team. So maybe that's something that they can take some solace from, especially knowing that they will have prepped for these maps. They will have looked through what UWC stacks have definitely been playing.
Yeah, I was just looking at Back Six's stats, and you're right. They're like, all of them are in the top 20 players in Varsity. That the entire team is within the top 20 highest ADRs available. So certainly a lot of skill, but like you said, doesn't necessarily translate to map wins. And most importantly, is that can translate into what type of map we have. And we should have vetoes up for us very soon, and we will see what we have, and hopefully we'll see if we're right on the predictions. So this was one thing that I was considering might happen by Lancaster, which is if they prefer maps like Nuke, Vertigo, and I said less traditional maps, maybe Train as well, and it is very old tactic that used to happen. This is before the CS scene really sort of developed in the university scene, they would just ban out all the main maps. They'd ban out all the comfort maps and force the team onto whatever their tertiary pick was. And I was not expecting that. The Inferno and the Overpass ban, like that just puts our predictions way out the window,
if you look at both of these, they both banned the main maps that the other teams played. We saw Inferno Overpass disappear straight away. We saw Vertigo and Nuke disappear straight away. The Sea Stags banned that out as fast as they could. So it's very much two teams counter-stratting against one another, and we end up on Mirage. A map that neither of them have really played. Neither of them are used to it. I think it's fresh for both of them. So it should be really interesting. Of course, a map that does lend itself a little bit more to that fragging ability. But if teams can take mid control, especially Lancaster, I think that's probably what they're going to be looking for in this map to make all the difference.
Yeah, it's sort of both Goliaths are battling each other on an arena we're yet to see them play on. So it should be super interesting. I fully expect UE's going to come out with beyond aggression on their T side. Yep. And I think where I see teams really fall is on their CT side, and being able to hold against that when you're against teams with such good aimers. Like you said, Mirage is a very frag heavy map, is being able to not bleed out so much, coordinate effectively, win your ones, and come through. And I think that'll be I genuinely believe the game could be won or lost purely just in Lancaster's CT side. I think that's personally, I think that's a reasonable prediction, but should be getting into very soon or not. What's your predictions before we get into the game? Where do you think it's going to go?
I mean, I think this one's going to be close. It all depends on mid control. I think we're going to see mid is going to be heavy this entire game, but my reckoning is roughly 16-11 to the UWE Sea Stags. That's what I'm saying.
16-11. I definitely think UE. I'm going to say that they take this one, but I do think that it's not at all impossible for Lancaster to upset our predictions. We've already been upset once with the map vetoes. Why not? Let's do it again. Why can't Lancaster prove us wrong? Let's go for it.
Yeah. You want to put a score on that one? A definite score?
I'm going to say. Do I go higher or lower? That's the question. You've already said one. You've already said 16-11. Do I go higher? Do I go lower? I'm going to go 16-12. I'm going to go higher. I reckon it's going to be closer than you said. But I could be wrong, and I could be eating my words after this map. We'll have to see.
It's like Price is Right.
Fantastic. So here we go, getting right into it. We're going to go through the knife. And so actually, okay, with CS, it really kind of doesn't matter. It's not like other games where one side is heavily favored over the other. However, I do believe when you're up against a really high fragging ability of certain teams, that sometimes having the confidence to be able to pick your comforted side, limit and restrict them is actually super, super favorable. So I think that was UE coming out over the top, and I think that might help Lancaster. I actually think starting T side, if they do, stay on the current sides that they're currently on, I do think that actually helps them. I think that might help with their confidence, because I do believe they will struggle with their CT side more than their T, and just having that confidence to get the ball rolling, make sure, I'm sure all these players warm up beforehand, but just, letting the nerves settle a bit on the T side where you can dictate the pace of the game as well. You can play rounds very slow, you can play them fast. You're the one who are deciding those decisions. I think will actually favour Lancaster a huge amount. But here we go, round one of UE Sea Stags versus the half natty head tappers of Lancaster. Take us away, Zach.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a pretty standard setup coming out. One player in towards A, just jumping, looking for the attack. Two players pushing up short, one player jump spotting on A, and a lot of smokes coming in towards A as well. Smoked off CT, just looking to plant the bomb as fast as they can. And Drop actually walked past a player here, spraying into the connector, but can't quite get the kill. Dovey does get crit, though, and that's the main player down for UWE. Of course, Samuel and PJ getting 2 kills very early on in jungle there after the bomb's gone down. And now it's all in favour of the Sea Stags pushing into the site. Only 3 of Lancaster left alive, 2 of them hiding towards the site, 1 just playing after plant at the moment, and Angbiwa taking the fight. Main Slayer loses his life to Samuel though. Angbiwa just looking for the headshot, but PJ takes him down, and Igo can't get anything done from ramp. And that's just going to be a nice defuse coming in from the UWE Sea Stags. PJ with the kit. And actually, after a pretty shaky start there, pretty nice defuse, pretty clean.
Yeah, pretty clean overall. I mean, I think... I think despite, losing out on that round, even after getting the bomb down, at least they got the bomb down. They have that economic achievement. You can see, full Galil's coming out. Maybe instead deciding to go to Desert Eagle as well. I think maybe a bit of utility. I think that's the one. Smoke came through, but Crit's just going to be waiting from Connector. Drop. Trades back on Magic. So that's one of the heavy hitters. I say one of the heavy hitters. They're all heavy hitters on the side of UE. Igo is just going to be pushing on through onto the B site, and he has to find the CT player. Stanovski's going to play aggressively. Angbiwa is greeted by the MP9. Crit picks up another one, and it looked a little bit good for Lancaster for just a second. But it all started slipping away, and it might be up to the 2 remaining Ts to try and pull this off. But you can see the full rotation coming through, and Yui's looking to aggress on them.
Igo's got quite a lot on his shoulders here, just holding towards the window, not looking in the right way. 2 players peeking at the same time, and Samuel gets Dovey as well. And that is a really nice push coming out from the Sea Stags. They're peeking angles together there. They're making sure that it's not just a full hold on mid. They peek in, they peek out, and it means that the head tappers have no idea what they're doing at any one time. They don't know where to look. And that's a buy that's just gone down the toilet there. Just going to have to pull out the Eagles again and see if they can get kills. I think realistically, this is a round where they just try and find out the positions that the head tappers are, the Sea Stags rather, are playing. See if they can work out exactly what to do in the next one.
I'd like them to group up a little bit more, especially in these first 2 rounds. Just press the man advantage, because at the moment they're just losing out. And as soon as they double up and suddenly they're finding heads left, right, and center, Samuel gets trade off immediately, and that trade goes the way of Lancaster. Magic is going to push aggressively up. He's not going to find anyone. These guys are that is some 10,000 IQ game sense read right there by Magic. He's like, if I push up any more, there might be someone underpass. And he's actually right. He's not going to find them, but the rotation will come through towards B apartments. There's one player, PJ, just waiting, trying to jump spot. And there's the rotation called for. So the rest of the CTs are going to rotate around. But because of how many Ts are live, it's unknown where the rest of them are. So they have to play a little bit cautiously. You can see Stanovski going really far above, but still no one is peeking. No full information is given over until Magic starts seeing them. PJ waits for the bomb plant to come through, just storms on in. Dovey will try and reply, but it's not going to be enough. UE wins that round very calmly, very easily. And this is not looking good for Lancaster.
You say that, it was just a Deagle round, so it's not the end of the world. As long as they show a little bit more tactical analysis coming into this one. Of course, not the best so far, but lots of utility coming out. Of course, Drop only pulling out 2 flashes, but shouldn't matter too much. We're getting just a default coming in from these players. Nothing aggressive at the moment. Doesn't look like maybe the tactical masterclass we were expecting at the start of the game, but pushing into mid, making the head tappers, the Sea Stags rather, work for the positions that they're trying to hold. Slowly pushing in, looking for these early kills. Doesn't look like the Sea Stags are going to give them at all.
No, very disciplined. Not what we're expecting from this sort of high fragging ability team. Magic will get the drop and drop. Headshot found, and certainly in this full gun round, the first full gun round we've had, Lancaster is just kind of, I don't know, they look a little bit lost. Like you said, not the strategic masterclass that we were expecting. Instead, looking a little bit all over the place and just getting picked off one by one by the CT side. And even when they're able to reply, Dovey getting 2 for his money, it's still not enough. The man advantage still safely in the hands of Huey. Bomb is down as well. Samuel's going to be repositioned into jungle, but it's not going to be enough. PJ finds 1, goes for the second, and Biwa will come out on top. And okay, now this is a little bit spicy. A double kill comes through, and it's all on the rest on the shoulders of PJ. He's going to take his time, and Biwa might swing out. He's trying to go for the... Oh my god. I thought with the jump there for a second that PJ was not going to be able to get that. but he just does in time. He snaps straight on. Takes down Angbiwa, and a valiant effort from the side of Lancaster, bringing it that close, but still PJ almost makes it look easy.
Very impressive again from the Sea Stags. The head tappers looking, I mean, really for their namesake here. None of them really tapping heads. Angbiwa with a couple, and of course Dovey with a few as well on underpass, but nowhere near what you were really expecting from these players. We really were expecting more presence around the map, and looks like they are just going to be rushing B here. UWC Stags have been playing really impressively in mid at the moment. They've had very good, passive play. Samwell just looking next to the smoke here, not going too aggressively. It doesn't really work if someone does push through it. Your shoulder's showing there, so might catch him unawares, but Igo just going to slowly push up underpass, and you can see the effect these Sea Stags have had on the head tap. Igo really hesitant to push through underpass there. Doesn't really know what's going on. Drops. Looking for this kill early on, though, and drops just at the wrong time. Igo gets Samwell on the other side of the map now. Now mid control is firmly in the hands of the head tappers. They don't quite know it yet, but Magic peeking in, looking for a kill. Staring towards the underpass and catches one of them as they push up towards short. Smokes it off in return, though, and now Dovey actually going to push straight through. The flash comes through and gets the headshot. Magic only loses his life. PJ does try to get two, but Angbiwa with a very impressive reply. And now Stanovsky coming in from the back, and Crit as well coming in a little bit slower, but the utility on these players is quite low. Same as the head tappers, actually.
Lancaster really playing around each other, head tappers, really trading off and ensuring that, when they are taken down, that they can successfully trade out. The kill onto Magic was beautiful, but there's still more work to be done. Angbiwa, you can see, got dinked right there. Huge amount of HP taken, but I don't know if he's going to be found. He's just waiting underneath. He will get one before he goes down. Dovey finds Crit as well, and Lancaster are on the board, not the washout just yet. And that was a lot better, a lot more, despite UE's sort of passiveness around the middle of the map. Lancaster's discipline and working together as a team to be able to clear each area out was far better than we've seen in previous rounds.
And look at the money for the Sea Stags now. Looking at pistols and an SSG, and now Drop gets the first kill on underpass. Magic completely blind there, not ready for that flash. It's something you really expect, but Crit going for this information, and it's a huge information play. He's going to find out that there's nobody on ramp here, going to call it for his teammates, and now they're looking towards, an option found on it, B, and probably going to be calling across for a full rotation. All the players moving towards B, and the bomb coming in to B as well for Lancaster. This could be really bad for them, actually backing away towards A, and that's going to be a good call. Look at the map at the moment. Top left there for you. No one towards A, making noise towards B still. And the UWEC Stags caught in a fake here.
Yeah, this is the strategic masterclass that we were expecting, and this is exactly what we wanted at this side. You can see only Crit is really staying there, and you can see Igo still waiting on B. Just to be that presence, they have to respect that threat, just in case that they do push B, but he's just going to be waiting. Samwell takes him out eventually. I'm not a huge fan of him overstaying his welcome, however, because that is an AK-47 thrown over to the other side, and Samwell should be trying to save that. But Crit is still available. He's going to be listening out. With the bomb planted, there's not much he can do. He does have armor, so it's probably safe for him just to save, potentially go for any exit frags so they walk his way. Samwell definitely 100% wants to keep hold of this AK.
I mean, the head tappers maybe didn't quite realize how low the Sea Stags were on money. I mean, 4 rounds up, wasn't really personally expecting them to be as low as they are, and I can see the money that's on the screen, so not the worst thing in the world to give away the AK there. Of course, only giving away 1. If they do push even harder to get it back, this could be a bit more catastrophic, but it looks like the head tappers just playing it safe. Sitting around, waiting for the UWEC Stags to come to them, and another eco probably going to have to come out for them. The AK likely going to be passed across to Crit with the armor. Maybe going to drop his deagle. Actually, doesn't seem so. Samuel's going to keep it himself. Not really the decision I'd like to see, but of course, the Sea Stags now on no money, full eco for 2 players, 1 player just on a deal and an armor. So should be a nice win for the head tappers coming into this round to take it to 4-3, getting a bit closer. But you never know with the Sea Stags. Of course, the fragging ability we talked about before the game, they have a lot of it, bucket loads.
Yeah, you never know, especially with Crit. Yes, he doesn't have the AK, but he still has a Desert Eagle and 4 armor. So play like that can definitely try and find something. You know, if you give him an inch, he'll take a yard. You give him a yard, he'll take a mile from you. And here's the utility come out. Stanowski sitting quite uncomfortably towards A ramp. He's going to back off. Underneath, he's going to get Molotov'd out. He's instantly decapitated. Dovey certainly living up to his team's name as the rest of the team spreads out onto site. You can see sort of Crit and Co just sort of sitting here waiting. Samuel lost that AK incredibly fast. Dovey with another one. 3k so far. It's just Crit. He's just waiting. Oh my god, that shot, it wasn't a headshot. Wasn't as quite as nice as we were expecting, but still, Crit pulls out another one. Oh no, Crit, don't you dare do this. This is not acceptable. This is not okay. You do not get to do this. Mainslayer is going to come behind. He's going to turn around. For a second there, I thought he might just be able to do it. Crit with the insane 3k, almost pulling that round over somehow. But Lancaster, calm down. They come up with a flank and they manage to put that extra win onto the board.
And that's much worse than economic damage. You've activated Crit there, and now the game's blown wide open. The Sea Stags have got their best player back. Magic just needs to get a few of his own, and now it's going to be a slaughter potentially if they keep feeding them like that. Just taking mid control early on again. Crit making as much noise as he can in the connector. He's confident now. He's looking for these kills, spraying through the smoke. He doesn't care if he's hitting. He thinks he's going to get one. Looking towards underpass. This should be somewhere that they check, but of course if they aren't familiar with it. Oh no! Crit gets two there, and a really nice push on underpass and gets another one on Igo swinging out, and now he's ready for another. He hears the reload coming in. Dovey can't survive against the damage that is Crit. And B were alone in this situation, gets Stanovsky and CT, but runs away, can't get away from
kills.
Crit. That's an ace going out from Crit there, and you can't let him get 3 in the round before and not expect him to get another 5. Incredible stuff.
I'm just thinking of that. I have an army. Well, we have the Hulk. Like, Yui's like, well, we have Crit. Like, come on. Does it even matter? Like, that was... It's like you said, you just awoke him. You know, he's ready, he's raring to go, and he's showing us exactly why we hyped him up as this, like, impact player. Huge dominating performance, and, you know, talk about the mental, you know, that could be going on. Winning a round like that, it's not going to feel good at all for Lancaster.
No, I can't imagine it does. A player getting an ace has to be tilting, especially in that fashion. Swinging out on connector, that shouldn't be something that you allow to happen, ever. Someone should be holding that position. Why 2 people are on the bench is completely beyond me. And Head Tappers now still behind, but, you know, only 2 rounds. And if they can mitigate the damage now, this could be pretty big. Of course, 5-3 on the T side is not the worst.
Magic just spraying on through that smoke. You'll find a second one. And that's certainly not going to favour the Head Tappers whatsoever, and BY gets completely beaten out by Stanovsky. This round is fully falling apart for the Lancaster side. It's just going to be waiting here. This should be an easy double kill for him. Steps out, bang, bang. Headshots galore for this man. 15 kills, 5 deaths, a 3 KD. Just, what? We're going into the 10th round now. Absolutely manic.
Yeah, living up to his KD in the previous games as well. 2.4 we mentioned before the map, and it looks like it's getting even higher. Samuel just looking for a kill on ramp here, not going to get anything early, and a little bit of a different play here from Lancaster, just going in towards A, trying to find out what's going on there. Dovey tears off the head of Crit there as well, showing him a bit of his own justice. Now Samuel just going to have to back away, maybe going to get caught out by Mainslayer. Actually gets 2 there, 1 through the smoke, and now Igo going to push into CT, not going to work out for him probably, only got the Mac 10, but looking towards CT, actually an incredible flash coming in. PJ can't get away with standing, staring at that one, and Stanovsky knows that Igo's there, but Igo running away as fast as he can, loses a little bit of health, but it's not going to matter at all. Stanovsky has to get the impossible done in this situation, and as more of the utility man so far, it's not probably going to work out for him. He messes up that spray a little bit, doesn't get any more than the 1, and Biwa loses his life. And something that maybe we haven't talked about is when players, you know, get those kills, they do show up, but when players are dying round after round after round, like Drop has been, you know, only 1 round he survived in, can get a little tilting. And if you don't have the teamwork on your side, you can just end end up losing your life round after round and not getting anything for it. So interesting to see how the head tappers work with that one.
But the rest of the Lancaster side are kind of showing us what we'd expect. Mainstay, that was a beautiful pop flash to support Igo to just sort of run in there with the MAC-10 into CT last round. So certainly that coordination is still there. Like you said, though, it's whether every single member is in the pocket, in the zone. And if you're one player who's out of it, and then they start letting down the rest of the team, and it's this knock-on effect. So it'll be up to Lancaster to try and keep everyone's heads in check, and hopefully keep them part of their bodies. Because at the moment, Crit is having his way, just decapitating the head tappers. Someone's going to be waiting here. He might be greeted by drop, but both sides playing it very slow. Halfway through the round, Flash going to come out. He's going to dodge it. Someone's going to win out over drop. His position is going to be given, but he shouldn't choose to swing out. I'd expect he tries to leave this position. Gets out. No, a grenade coming through from Dovi. Biwa finds Stanoski as well. Magic. It's just like AUE C-Stags are getting drowned. I say drowned. They've been brought out of the water. They're now suffocating on the surface because head tappers out of nowhere just come out on top this round and get the bomb planted on B.
Yeah, Magic, a star player we were talking about before the game. Of course, Crit, the number one, but Magic has been almost just as impressive. He has over 115 ADR so far across all 7 maps that he's played. And just, yeah, 6 and 7, not really what we're expecting from this player. He's getting absolutely dropped by the head tappers so far. And a round that really was C-Stags for the taking has disappeared. Of course, they got that first kill in window. And the flash, honestly, for drop wasn't very good. It was a position where the player's holding it with an auger. Of course, they don't know that, but it's along the ground flash. It's easy to turn away from, and it alerts the player that they can unscope and allows him to easily get the headshot. So not the best play from the head tappers, but, you know, it works out for them. 3 players survive coming into this one, and lots of money for a lot of them. Of course, Igo looking at 6k, Dovi on 7, and Biwa 4.5. And look at the UWEC stacks in return. Crit, the only one with any money, and it's just because he survived.
It's just because he survived, but I like the fact that they've given drop the AWP. They
anyway, now looking towards B early on for the head tappers. Just 3 of them in apartments, and actually Mainslayer already pushed all the way up short here. Sees Magic, makes him hide behind a pillar, but the headshot's coming out from Igo. Dovi gets the nade kill, and now another headshot from Igo as well, and Crit has no option but to back away in this one. Just moving away, only 60 HP. Does have the improved weapon, but not going to get away with anything at the moment.
Poor Crit. I feel kind of bad for him at the moment. He's having certainly an MVP level performance, you know, but he's just... The rest of his team is kind of falling a little bit behind, and he's doing the heavy lifting, for lack of a better term. PJ definitely stepped up in the early rounds, but you can see the rest of the team. Stanoski, 4 and 9. Salmal, 6 and 7. Magic, 6 and 8. A player we did not expect, you know, to be, you know, negative at this point. You know, especially with how confident they appeared in the first few rounds of this game. A little bit surprising, but still, the same, you know, I'm still confident in AUE to be able to pull it back, you know, especially and build off the back of Crit's performance. It could be simply just a case of warming up or something like that, and the rest of the players getting going. What I'm really curious to see is how both these AWPs are utilized. Drop, though, finds the first. What position was that from? I think that was just blitzing towards A, and he's definitely stepped up. His team trusted him with the AWP, and he is delivering. Igo's on the flank as well, just going to Molotov connector. It's now insult to injury. How does he win over Magic as well? Drop finds another one and quickly becomes an impact fragger for his team.
I think that honestly, the head tapper's going to be happy with 7 rounds. Even if C-Stags get to 8, it should be something that the head tappers don't really mind. Of course, an eco coming out from the C-Stags likely going to get the 8th. We've not seen the C-Stags even get 1 eco round, I don't think. So something the head tappers are well equipped for. Of course, 2 going towards B, 3 going towards A, nothing in towards mid. Head tappers clearly don't know that, though. A lot of utility being expended early on, making sure everything's nice and safe. And Samuel been mollied, flashed, naded off, only 17 HP and being forced out. Igo going to meet him in the middle, gets the headshot as well. for his troubles. And Magic, though, pushed all the way in behind and might not be ready for the player in Palace here, who could get some flank kills, but doesn't look likely. Drop as well. If he loses his life with this AWP, would be pretty damning. Magic, of course, Deagle can get 2 kills with in the body, and a swing with this weapon could really ruin him. Drop. Not going to work out. Drop, incredible stuff with the Tech 9 and runs into CT, into T-spawn, sorry, ready to go towards A, and no players from the C-Stags even towards there at the moment. Of course, PJ running in behind, got the armor, got the CZ, knows that there's no players in apartments, will be calling that to his team fast as possible. And the head tappers' time is of the essence here.
Ang Biwa gets completely domed, so does Dovey as well. You're challenging Crit with Desert Eagle, but it may as well be a laser at this point because he is just on it. Popping heads left, right, and center. Crit gets hugely tagged there. Drop can just throw the Molotov. That should be enough to send him into the flames, and Crit gets taken down eventually. Very nice from him to try and pull back some, but the economy that the head tappers have built up, it's not going to affect them going into the final round. And I just want to highlight Drop's performance on that AWP. He was 3 and 10, and he's almost in the last 2 rounds has almost tripled his kills. He's having a really, really good sort of like second wind on this AWP, and it's had huge impact for his team, and it's really paying off. A lot of the early kills have been ones that he's found, and he's actually won out across his opposite number, but this time he's staring down the barrel towards Crit.
Crit with the AWP this time, still doesn't matter. Crit doesn't care. He's got the AWP, and now the smokes come out. Looked for the early frag there, not quite working out. Drop losing his life, and Crit through the smoke there gets Mainslayer. The bomb coming forward. Crit on top of the ticket booth, drops down and actually pushes forward. The confidence from this man. Stonoski backing him up though. Looks towards Palace, gets 1, looking for the second, and that's a very nice round from the C-Stags. Crit doing most of it, and Stonoski playing off him really well. 8-7 for the head tappers. And that, honestly, I think they'll be happy with.
Absolutely. I think they'll be very happy with that, especially with how kind of one-sided some of the rounds felt in the first quarter of the game. You know, it felt like AUE were just running away with it. It was just pure brutality. You know, like dished out by this team, and instead Lancaster rallied around their players, supported each other, giving them the resources and utility that they need, and came out on top. But this is where it began last time for AUE. They came out on top in the pistol round. We'll see if they can repeat it again. Lancaster very sort of default hold, spread out, trying to play so the numbers advantage. Crit, though, I think he's been raid bossed with the P250. Mainslayer finds Sammo. He's not able to find Igo. He's trying to find PJ's head as well, but Crit is just destroying their team. There's very little players alive. That's just doing huge damage from range. Magic finds another one. And before you know it, there is 1 player left for the side of Lancaster. And there is a very angry Crit waiting for him.
Yeah, of course, the pistol round worth a lot less than it used to be a few years back. If any of you have sort of played CSGO for a little bit longer, you'll know that back in the day, a pistol round meant 3 rounds for free. But this probably means that the C-Stag's going to get an 8th, maybe a 9th. I mean, Igo might have something to say about it, but oh my word, Crit still gets the headshot from across the map, and very well played with that P250. 23 and 8 so far, and confident enough to pull out the AK for the anti-eco. Of course, CT's probably not going to buy into this one. It's something that's emerged a little bit more as being the CT force buy, but not something that happens all that often. Drop carving the way for it to happen for a single player to raid boss. Maybe not what we see very often, but it clearly feels confident.
Clearly feels confident, and especially buying a little bit deeper than the rest of his teammates. Magic. He's like, oh, maybe there's a player over there. Never mind, Crit's taking him out. It's fine. Don't have to worry about that. That puts Crit back onto 24 kills with 8 deaths. Still on a 3 KD. Just want to stress that. Still, you know, this guy is absolutely unstoppable, and he's going above and beyond to single-handedly essentially bring his team back from the brink. They looked a little bit shaky, but he is having none of it. And now AUE look like they did at the start of this game. They look brutal. They look unstoppable. And almost the entire team, bar Magic, get a kill that round.
And the money's so poor for the head tappers. They may as well have forced into the last round, because what was the point of last round if you know, not a eco for the next round? You either force or you buy. And that's an example of another time when we should have maybe seen a timeout. Teams been really reluctant to use them for some reason. Of course, they do have timeouts in this. I believe it's 4 30-second timeouts per team. And so far, I think in our casting, we've seen maybe 2 across the 5 or 6 maps that we've done. So team's a little bit reluctant at the moment. Crit looking to get into a window, and of course should win this round pretty comfortably. And B were on half health. Main Slayer just lost his life. Only 2 players left alive, and B was only clinging on. Magic doesn't realize that he's on the other side of the wall to him. And B were not having the best of games, but might sense that there's someone on the other side of connector. Of course, playing actually not really even for a headshot here, just looking at the upper body, trying to spam them down, it looks. And Ovi spamming up top short, but not going to get anything for his troubles. UWC Stags with a nice clean round there, all the players staying alive. Crit and Samuel getting most of the kills. And 10-8.
He's on 27 kills. He's on 20. It's like, it's just unreal. You know, it's like Lancaster have very good rounds, and then Crit just does that, and it's like, what's the point? He's at such a high level, you know, compared to everyone else at the moment, and he's really, really making Lancaster pay for it. But Drop, we saw Drop certainly woke up once he got that AWP in his hands.
They know that it's a window smoke, though. They know that that was a one-way. Smart enough not to peek into it on top mid. They just waited. They knew that, you know, the difference in 5 seconds there, it's not much in the overall feel of the round. And now they're punishing that early aggression coming out from the head tappers in mid. Of course, not aggressive, but aggressive enough that a lot of their utility's been deployed already. Nothing really to hold. Drop just trying to look towards underpass, but the C-Stags, like I said before the game, they're just going for mid control, and there's nothing that the head tappers can do about it. Main Slayer looking the wrong way here as well, and might get caught out by Magic. Looks around the corner, and that's really poor timing to hide away. And now Magic pushes up short. 3 players coming through apartments as well. 1 player just pushing into window. Maybe going to catch the players on the rotate. Actually does get Dovi, and Igo takes Stanoski though on the site. And that's where the important kills are coming through. Crit gets dropped, and Magic going to flank round the side, gets the kill, and B were left in a 1 versus 4 situation. Not going to be anything that he can do here. And it's all been mid and B at the moment from the C-Stacks. There's been a little bit of A presence, but mainly just desecrating mid and then coming in and destroying B.
So once AUE get AK-47s in their hands and they get that one-shot headshot weaponry, they just look terrifying. Every single one of them just looks brutal. Crit finally goes down, so we can have a look at what his KD looks like now. It's still insane. It's still above 3. The guy's a monster.
I mean, the one solace they have, it's not 30 yet. That's the one thing they've got going for them. Is Crit not quite hit 30. The rest of the team as well, if you know, you look at the rest of the UWC Stags team, the rest of them are all negative. None of them are playing that well. Yeah, it's the C-Stags maybe not doing the best there.
No, not at all. And the thing is when you've got a player who's just fragging out that hard, there's not many kills left to get. There's not many left available. I kind of like this play a little bit more, playing off of each other to try and just, you know, Crit can't murder you all, so if you give him enough bodies, eventually one of you might be able to take him down, and certainly so. They've managed to even it out into a 2 versus 2. Pop Flash going to come through for PJ to storm into connector, and B-Well's taken down, and Igo is going to be available for this flank. It's whether those footsteps were heard from that. Okay, so, alright, so Bomb is down. Stanoski might not expect this. He's on it too quickly. The Call of Duty reload from Igo. It's not going to be enough. PJ takes him down, and that was such a winnable round for Lancaster. He's going to be kicking himself for that one.
It's something that a lot of players forget, is the Call of Duty reload. You shouldn't do it. You see it even at the top tier of play. You see players constantly quick switching, constantly reloading. I mean, the reloading tends to disappear, but quick switching is really a pet peeve of mine at the top level, and it just doesn't work out for them. Of course, a rush actually coming out from the UWC stakes. As I'm talking about this, Dovey stuck in the middle of sight, loses his head actually with a bit of help from a flash from Mainslayer. Samuel expecting a flash into CT, it works out for him, but Igo doesn't even care, takes the head off of Samuel. And now PJ Stanovsky and Magic, some of the players that aren't really fragging the best, looking to get into this round. Magic swings with the help of a flash, but of course doesn't quite get enough done, and Drop takes away the unsuspecting player on scaffolding. Stanovsky in a 1v1 now, and Drop hiding in this smoke, maybe just going to push out, but doesn't know where Stanovsky is at all. Got the orb, Stanovsky with 46 HP, and it's probably not in his favor, and Stanovsky takes the head off of Drop as he pushes out from jungle. Really well played from Stanovsky, making sure that he moved as much as possible while those smokes were down, just to keep Drop guessing, and gets the 13th round for the C-Stags. Been a clean sweep since they went onto the T side.
Lancaster lose 2 one-on-one clutches in a row. That's got to be gutting to be that close to be able to pull this game back. Interesting thing to note, Crit no longer has a 3 KD. What a bad player. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
like he still dropped a 30 bomb, but still, whatever Lancaster is dishing out, it's starting to work, but it might be too little, too late. They might have bled too many rounds across the C-Stags, and they've run away with it. Crit is just hunting, playing very patiently to even with the advantage. I say that, but then Igo just completely domes Magic, so that's 1 down, but still Crit. He's taking it very slowly. He doesn't want to give them too many opportunities. He's almost tapping like it's in his aim practice for him. PJ is going to swing out now as well and try and find Drop after taking out Ambiwa. It's a 3-on-3, and there's the weapon swap, the utility swap. But still, every time there's a kill goes, immediately it's traded off, and it's just really good positioning by both sides to try and contain any pressure that's applied from that opposite number. But that was huge. No reply on that one. Igo not able to follow up once more. Stanovsky going to try and stick the plant. He's going to step off the bomb. It's not going to be enough. Igo pulls on through a huge 3K for him. Lancaster are not out of it yet.
Crit may be thinking his aimbots have been acting up, allowing them to get 12 kills on him. The way that he's been playing, it honestly feels like that. But Head Tappers bring it back a little bit, getting it a bit closer to that ever incredible 10 rounds, make it look a little bit more respectable with the 10, and then from there, maybe you might be getting on to 16. If they can hamper Crit, I mean, honestly, there's not really much else to talk about on the C-Stag side. There's one player that's playing far better than the rest of their team, and, the rest of them not playing poorly by any means. Of course, the ADR and some of these players in other maps have been really incredible, but Crit is just something else, really been above and beyond what anyone else has been doing. Just giving away mid control here. Drop gets a really nice kill on Crit there, and that's the kill that they needed, the Lancaster side, just to open up the rounds. Igo playing on top of the box as well, continuing his killing form from the other rounds. And now the C-Stags have a bit of an uphill battle in this round. It's probably going to end up 13-10 unless they can do anything about it. Just looking towards mid, Samuel only got 18 HP, been of course tagged up quite a lot by Igo, and now probably going to be a B push coming out from these UWE players.
And here's the push. Double Molotov going off towards Van. Maybe that's a little bit uncoordinated. They could have spread the utility out. Mainslayer finds one. He's going to get taken down immediately. Igo follows up. And Stanovsky jumps out the window. But with 3 players left on the Lancaster side, is going to be tricky. Stanovsky just playing time. He's got 40 seconds to play with. And you see if any CT players get a little too high feet, a little too aggressive, and he can punish them for it. But he might be able to swing out. Nope, not going to be the case. Drop takes him down. And I just want to do a quick bit of maths. What, 12, so 24 plus 26. So what is that in total? That's 50. So there's 82 kills on the side of UE, and Crit has 32 of them. Like, he's almost worth the equivalent to 3 players. Like, we keep going on about it, but the disparity between the rest of his team is almost alarming, especially if he can get taken down so early. A flash coming out through, that's going to be huge utility damage. Mainslayer just has to kind of back off. with Igo and play around each other. And at this point, Magic and Crit have been taken down. Even on the eco, there's not be faring pretty well. He runs out of ammunition. Stanoski's going to run out, and Mainslayer takes him down, and that's a clean round. Of course, it was an eco, but still, Lancaster ever getting closer to evening out that scoreline. And you did say your prediction was 16-11. Mine was 16-12 to AUE.
Well,
this is where it counts. This is where either you're wrong or I'm wrong.
I mean, we could end up both being wrong, of course.
We could.
They've sort of overhauled this mid play, and Angb were getting a little bit maybe too aggressive here. Probably not going to work out. Well, I say that, Crit not ready for it. Angb were making so much noise, and still Crit can't sense the flank, the swing that's coming out, and now the smokes come. They were looking for the early frag from Crit just to open it up a little bit more. The smokes come out, and now look at the boldness of Angb. He swings once again, gets another headshot. Dovey on the site, headshots on Stanoski as well. And now the player's just going to be running through a smoke. Dovey sprays down Samuel, doesn't get the best spray. You can tell it in the way that he shakes his mouse after he gets the kill. And Magic with it all to do. 1 versus 3, throws the flash. Only 17 HP. 1 bullet from any weapon would kill him now. Maybe the USP not, but the 5-7 on drop, any of these M4s are just going to take him down with a single bullet. So these have to be headshots. He has to be sneaky here. And he's just hiding in sandwich, waiting for the players to come through, waiting for someone to peek him. And honestly, I thought I dropped for a second, then the players just standing still, all of them, no one peeking anyone.
Game of chicken. Flash comes out. Magic, his patience is rewarded. Drop's going to be waiting for him, and potentially his HP has not been communicated over, because would Drop really be trying to contest that with an AWP when, like you said, Magic is 1 shot away? It's not going to even matter. Igo comes around the flank and picks up that all-important AK-47. It's so interesting that Dovey had such a good T-side, struggled on the CT, and then once he got an AK back in his hands, suddenly started popping off. He was frustrated by that spray, but he still managed to find the kills, and that's what's most important. And now Lancaster are within 1 round of evening up this total.
What's fascinating about both teams is both of them only have 1 player going positive. The rest of the team is all negative. Every single other player in the server has been struggling a little bit more. Drop can actually see to the side. That smoke, that isn't a perfect mid-smoke at all, but the flash comes out, flashes him away from it. Now only 1 player towards been volleyed off as well. Drop, and not going to linger for that one. Igo spraying through the smoke in apartments as well, and isn't going to end up well if he starts reloading here, unless they don't peek, in fact. So actually not the worst, but just gonna re-smoke it. Doesn't quite realize how much he's playing with fire here. Samuel gets the headshot, and now it's just gonna be a straight B rush. No players towards this site. Mainslayer gonna have to rotate in pretty quick. Playing on the site there, tries to play the headshot angle, doesn't quite get away with it. Drop hits 2 there, only gets 1. Magic dies. PJ very low on HP, and the bomb is actually down. There's no player that's able to pick that one up at the moment. The smoke has smoked them off from getting it, and Stanoski's spotted on the flank as well. And this has gone for a really impressive push from the UWEC Stags into just a complete shutdown at the moment. The bomb still hasn't been picked up. PJ can't get it, and that's a really good hold from Drop. Crit just waiting for a player to peek into him, sees the player in window but can't quite take him down. Dovey only on 25 HP, 2 players playing towards short. Dovey does end up losing his life in the end, but Ambiwa swings in his place, and that's a nice headshot on Crit there. Stanoski with it all to do, and they did know that he was on A, so they might be ready for him to be playing towards short. Of course, Drop just looking towards the bomb, but looks away at a critical point there. And Stanoski, if he gets this at the right time, might work out, does get it at the right time, gets the bomb, and now Angbiwa. 1 versus 1. Both of these players have had patchy runs of form as the game's been going. Stanoski looked a little bit better in recent rounds, but Angbiwa doesn't even care. He doesn't care about the statistics. He'll spray whatever he wants, picks up the AWP to save it to the next round. It takes it to 13-13. The head tappers with a nasty comeback coming on.
Head tappers break the 1 versus 1 clutch curse. And Biwa comes out big for his team. AUE seems to always have their number when it came into those clutch situations. And finally, Lancaster push above. And what a time to do it. They're even now, 13 rounds apiece. And you can look at the economic situation as well for the T side. If they lose this, it's going to be fairly tight buys coming through into the following round. So this is almost kind of a must-win. But that is a rare miss from Drop. Just not quite leveled, and Magic takes him out early, and that firepower from Drop on that AWP is huge. Taking it off the board so early, and now you can see Yui just swarming into mid, getting that mid presence, but Biwa has had this sort of exceptional ability to find these huge impact frags for the side of the head tappers. But still, the advantage firmly in the CSGO's favor. They're slowing the game down, but also Lancaster's treating them with respect and trying not to give away any other advantage that they can capitalize on.
You love to see the aggression coming out from Drop. He knows that he's feeling confident as well. 18 and 20, he doesn't care. He's getting tons of kills on the CT side with that AWP, but still a little bit too much maybe. Doesn't quite get away with it in the way that he thought he would. Punished very hard by the CSGO. Of course, some great aim on these players. And it's something that can evolve into something a bit more worrying than confidence. It might evolve into idiocy and peeking into some more than questionable decisions. That Molotov not going to quite work out, though, and Mainslayer going to be able to hide him. Shoots a little bit too early and still gets one, and here's the AWP in the site, and oh my god, that's 4 kills, and Mainslayer with 3 on the site. Dovey with the other. How did that happen?
That is a monitor punching moment. That is like, call a timeout now and find out who threw that Molotov, because that is disgraceful. How did it not remove him from that situation? Because the entire T side, that whole B rush was structured around knowing, or at least thinking, that a player wasn't there, and they got just completely taken advantage of. And here's the Desert Eagles coming out. Crit, the top fragger on the server, gets taken down. Drop. It looks like he's just playing aim practice. 3 for 3. No whiffs here. And Yui might just be pushed after being in front for so long. I don't know how Magic got there without being spotted, but it doesn't matter. He gets traded off instantly. And Yui might, after being in the lead for so long, be forced to play from behind and have to play to overtime, because Lancaster are 1 kill away from being on map point.
Yeah, I mean, PJ really should just be looking for kills at this point. The money on the head tappers for some of them is a little bit questionable. If he can get, I mean, even if he gets 3 of them here, it's not going to do much, is it? They're still going to be able to buy into the next one, but just going to sneak up connector here. Might get away with something. Of course, Drop very low on HP, looking towards Palace, but now we're seeing a swing coming out from Dovey onto connector. And PJ loses his head. 15-13 map and match point. And this will put the head tappers at the top of the table.
Yeah, not what we're expecting. Both of us predicted that Yui would come out on top based on the performance of their players. We did highlight there was a scenario in which Lancaster could, edge their way through using their strategy and team play to their advantage, shutting down the individual prowess of some of these UE players, and it's definitely working out for them, especially when some of them just aren't delivering what we expect, and kind of resting it all on Crit's shoulders. You can see still though with that confidence come out, but a little more measured than we're used to seeing UE. Like usually within 30 seconds they would have taken the entirety of mid and been pushing onto a site. But they can't make those mistakes. They have to play a little slower, a little more passive, check their angles, because no one wants to be the reason that they get shut out of this game.
Yeah, and Mainslayer just playing that same position he played the other round, hoping that nothing comes out from them. Drop having to back off into a corner, and Magic ready for the player to back off as well. And Biwa looking to fill the position, but it's kind of dodgy, in all honesty, on a tightrope at the moment, these players. Dovey just looking towards Palace, and now UWE CSGO look like they're posturing towards A. Of course, you can see on the map that the head tapper is actually moving in towards B at the moment, and B were looking towards connector, but doesn't quite see anything. And 2 players towards B, and B were backing off in towards mid. This surely isn't going to work out for the head tappers if they do stack in towards B. Only 1 player playing in CT.
Here we go. 25 seconds remaining. And they're having to push out onto the side. Just play around, try and find something going on, but the bomb will be planted. And that gives them a little more breathing room for the T side. Played it very, very close, right down to the wire, but still, man advantage. It's even. They managed to reply in kind on that CT side. Flash is going through, and here comes the push. Here comes the push for the retake. The T's are being incredibly measured in their approach, taking very passive post-plant positions. They're swinging out all together when it counts, when head tappers overextend, and that'll be AUE bringing back one more round, potentially taking us to overtime.
The money is not good on some of these head tappers players. Of course, they've managed to get a full buyout still. They've managed full utility even, which is pretty impressive. Some of them even with deagles as their secondary weapons. And now actually making a very different play in mid. A smoke coming out that's a little bit more aggressive, playing on top of the box here, but I mean, they know that this one's coming through and just backing away. Still, Drop gets the kill on Stanovski. That shouldn't be allowed, and then B, we're just going to push in towards Ramp, makes the noise, and now Magic might peek in behind and might get the kill. Igo just going to throw the Molotov in towards Connector now, and this is very big. Dovey and T-Spawn as well. The aggression from the head tappers, surely not expected by the C-Stacks. One player playing in towards Ramp, and maybe going to catch PJ off guard here, Dovey, as he rushes in behind. Oh, PJ gonna go towards mid. Magic gets the kill on Angbiwa as well, and now Dovey stuck in too much. Gets the bomb though in T-Spawn, and no players anywhere near. Magic gonna have to push against the grain to get this kill. Jumps up and still gets the headshot. Shouldn't be getting one. Dovey really should be killing a player that's jumping, and now they know that the bomb's in towards A. They know that that's where it is. Mainslayer just gonna peek in towards short, but honestly, they should be moving in A side. 3 players from the C-Stags all gathered on ramp, looking towards Palace as well, actually on one of them. Drop running away as well. They're moving in just to check every angle of the map, not quite sure on themselves. The C-Stags causing a little bit of discontent among the head tappers ranks by not pushing out. But now Drop sees one. Maybe, did he get a tag there? No, he didn't quite get it, but does get one. Now looking for a second, can't get Samuel though. Samuel takes him down with a through the wall headshot, and now Igo and Mainslayer a little bit less HP than the C-Stags. Kit only on Igo at the moment, but crit 100 HP. Same with Samuel. 2 flashes across both of the players, and nades coming in aggressively. So low on crit, can't quite land the nades properly, and they're gonna punish them for it. Gets a headshot on Igo, and now Mainslayer 1 versus 2 needs to get this one to take it to get the win for the head tappers. It's overtime if they lose. Mainslayer gonna swing, takes the head off of crit, and now Samuel 1 versus 1. Here's the bomb coming in, and Mainslayer just sticks that. Samuel gets the headshot, and it looks like we have overtime.
We are into overtime. Looks like Crit's gonna get that 40 bomb. Why not? Lancaster, it looked really good for them, then it looked really bad, then it looked really good for them. It all came around like Drop getting that pick so early on, you know, through the smokes. He had no right in doing so. He should have been picked off there. Still was able to. Dovey with that fantastic flank, but he went a little too far with his positioning. You know, didn't fully commit. I'd have preferred to see him wrap around and check T-ramp first, because we saw Angbiwa got picked off by Magic, and it allows them to at least clear that area, and then the 2 could have pushed in together, and then you can trade off. Yes, he got the kill on PJ. Yes, he managed to get the bomb to drop, but it doesn't mean anything if the rest of the team isn't there to back him up. And you know, so difficult, I think, situation for Lancaster, especially mentality wise. We can look at the ADR on the board and at least look at the difference in AUE and ADR. All these players, right? Hold on, where's the stats? Let's look at the stats for ADR. All the AUE players, I'm pretty sure, are all like in the top with very, very good ADR. And at the moment, here's like, look at the disparity. Look at it, 115 for crits. But every single other player is sub 80, some even sub 60. You know, and so certainly not hitting their punches sorry, not hitting their punches, but it's almost like they're pulling their punches at this point. They're not landing the damage that they need to, and it's almost all resting on crit. And I don't want to say suffering, because he's still playing very, very well, but certainly AUE, like, Crit's had that good of a performance, and they've only just managed to get to overtime. Like, alternatively, you could also put it like this: Crit's had that much of performance, the rest of the team didn't turn up, and still they managed to force it to overtime. So I guess it goes both ways, actually.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at this as well for newer players, the enemies flashed on a lot of these players that are performing poorer. Mainslayer and Biwa, Stanovsky, they don't have the highest frags. But to get 20 flashes, 31 flashes across a game, that's very high. I mean, it's not the highest that I've ever seen, but it's helping the team out. It's helping Crit to get those, that number of kills. And that's the teamwork that we see at this level that maybe you don't see in, a Gold Nova Pug map. You see everybody forming together to help the main player out as much. And what's really surprising is that 40% headshot ratio on Crit. It's not the highest. Normally you'd see 60, 70% on the top players. And still, he's being helped out by his team so much. You can say he has a 2.0 KD or a 1.95 KD. He's doing incredibly. It's all a solo performance. But 40% headshot ratio means that the rest of the team's helping with assists. He's getting a lot of flashes in for him. And it really is a team effort. It's not quite as heavily, crit-oriented as maybe we're saying. As well as that, the utility damage on all these players. They're using their mollies, their nades so impressively towards A and B. Just on, those apartment positions, on Palace, on ramp, just to stop players from sprinting in and, getting the kills that they maybe want. A lot of players, especially newer ones, and again, another PSA here, but they'll throw their Molotovs straight away. They'll think, right, it's probably going to be a B push. We'll throw the Molotov. We'll do this, we'll do that. And, it's not always the worst decision, but with these teams, they have strats. They know what's happening. They know when to throw the nades. They'll throw them together. They'll say, right, and B-word, let's throw the Molotov, for example. Let's do the Palace strat. They'll know what they're talking about, and they'll throw it in.
I mean, speaking of utility and knowing when to throw it, sometimes you run into the opposite issues where players hold it too long. I mean, I wanted to scream in that last round just before overtime. Drop was holding that angle, but there's 30 seconds left, and he still had a Molotov on him. Mm-hmm. And if he just throws that almost for a T player, they either have to push through, which means they're going to suffer huge damage, or it delays their push. And yes, you could argue that maybe by drawing it out and having to throw it, that couple seconds he could get picked off from. But I'd argue with the value for incendiaries and smokes go up, almost the more the clock ticks down, the longer you hold on to it. Especially as it starts approaching that final point where they have to get onto site. That's when they have the biggest impact. Dovey, though, on this AWP, this time Lancaster, the first time we've seen the entire game with a double AWP setup, and this time it's Dovey who draws first blood.
They had 3, did they not, for a second there? I'm fairly sure. Unless did I miss it? Maybe I'm wrong. Of course, 16k, anything can happen. We see crazy strats coming out. Maybe some people used to 10k setups, but this one's 16k. You can see players, they'll do whatever. Of course, in a 10k, one of the big problems is if you lose those first 2 rounds, you've lost the third. There's very little you can do. You're forced onto a half buy, and there's nothing you can do. Difference is with 16k, you can buy all 3 of those rounds, even if you lose. It means you've got more access to AWPs for the team, and it's more of a free-for-all of the players playing the best possible Counter-Strike that they can. Of course, pros and cons for each of them, but this one allows us to see the players pulling out all the weapons that maybe we would expect at this stage of the game, and Dovey getting the kill through connector, and you start to wonder why he didn't have the AWP from the start.
Yeah, maybe we're in 10k, we'd be seeing a different lineup because we haven't seen this all game, and now Dovey is just looking absolutely incredible. We'll get traded out. Ibiwa immediately gets onto his opposite number, but there's been huge amounts of HP damage onto Dovey, and that might just slow him down. Yes, the 2 AWPs are in play, but for a retake, is that really the best weapons? And Crit might just do it to them. This is classic. This is almost like Stewie 2k levels of just pushing through smokes.
Oh,
but
my
Drop
God.
is just Drop. What was that? Drop. I'm broken. I don't understand.
How?
You're not meant to win that. You're not meant to
Why?
win that. You don't get to win that. How does Lancaster come through on that? That's just ridiculous.
That's two 90-degree quickscopes coming out from drop to win that round. Quickscoping isn't a thing in CSGO. You don't do that. It's not Call of Duty. That's really well played from drop, and look at the confidence he's going to peek it towards ramp. 24 and 23. This is the first time he's been positive, I think, for the entire game. And now he's looking for the kills. Now he's ready. Staring over that connector position, and he's going to peek into crit on mid, I think. Actually, just backs away slowly. And just a default coming out from the C-stacks. One player towards B, one player towards A. And then three looking into mid, drop, waiting and backing away, it seems.
Drop not able, that early aggression, not able to find anything. AUE certainly learnt their lesson. After getting picked up from Dovey last round, and now it's still not going to be enough. Crit, the huge fragger, is out of the game. So Stanoski, and this is just this is just terrible for AUE. This is just disastrous. That overtime break did them no favors at all. PJ gets taken down. This is almost looking like a flawless round. Not a single HP of damage has been taken or been dealt to the side of Lancaster. Only Dovey suddenly taking damage. By that point, every single one of the UEC Stags have suffered in some kind of way. And Head Tappers 2-0 up in overtime, and their CT looks different. It looks so strong, and Dovey's even swapped off the AUE for an AK instead.
I'm 95% sure that happened was they went to their older brothers and said, "Hey, do you mind tagging in for me? I know you're playing in ESEA main, and I just thought maybe you could come in and help out a bit." But and now we've got the best of the best coming out from these players, and it looks like we're going to see a B push coming out. Main Slayer not in the position that he was in the past, and Ang Biwa might catch someone out here hiding in the corner. Gets one, gets a second, spraying down, and now he's trapped in this corner, not going to be able to get much done. Well, I say that as he peeks out, pushes through the smoke, gets one. Oh, it gets a second there. Stanoski, 1 versus 2. Got the HP drop, though, with this AWP. He's shown what he can do in the past. Stanoski kind of stuck in a corner here, if I'm being honest. But just waiting for somebody to get a little bit too aggressive as Crosshair maybe just a little bit low, looking at probably belly height. Just putting it up a little bit, seeing heads now, picks up the bomb. And now we've got a bit more of a game. 55 seconds, Stanoski just holding his ground, waiting for someone to push into him. Doesn't look like it's going to come out at the moment. Drop just holding that right-hand pillar. Dovey holding for the push, and now... Oh my god, he shouldn't get that one, and he definitely saw the back of Dovey there. Dovey just going to peek out. So slow, and Stanoski not ready for it. I was 100% sure he saw his foot there, but doesn't get it. And 3 rounds coming up from the Head Tappers. Only need 1 on the T side to win this one out.
Man, Ang Biwa, I need that clipped, because that was nutty. That was stupid how that worked. Like, he was okay. It's classic boost, right? This is something that is seen even in silver games, right? Wasn't checked. He gets away with 2 kills. He then pushes through a smoke and gets a 3rd. Like, the guy was just unstoppable, and that mistake that AUE allowed him to capitalize off just sort of dismantled them, and they had no answer for it. They were left in an impossible situation. Igo trying to force another one with a P90 of all weapons. Drop comes through. Dovey as well. PJ is going to try his best to try and hold on, but that is crit taken off the board. Now we're left in a 2 versus 3. I've seen this one before so many times in the last few rounds. AUE has been left in a 2 versus 3. Make that a 1 versus 3. Stanoski is left once again in a clutch situation. He gets tagged by Drop, but it might be the final bullet in the coffin. A headshot to close it out with that AWP. Drop having a monster game at the end. It took him almost, like 20 rounds to get going, but once he got going, he delivered.
Yeah, and crit disappeared as well at the end there. Really not what we were expecting. We were expecting. We spoke about it before the game. Lancaster just looked at every other angle of the map that crit wasn't at, and then it ended up working out for them. Did a much better job than we were expecting, Lancaster, and that takes them top of the table. Unbeaten so far.
Only team to be unbeaten so far in Varsity CSGO. Incredibly well done. Neither of us predicted it. We said it was possible, but it was certainly going to be a tall task for them to achieve it. But what a play. And I don't know who's for you, because there's so many of the Lancaster players stepped up. So many of them had impactful, impactful rounds. My voice is going from it. And Biwa, incredible drop with his performance on the AWP was just beautiful. It was perfect. Dovey as well had started really strong at the beginning and then closed out strong. And even every single other player had an impactful round. Every single frag counted. So I'm going to pressure you. Who would be your MVP?
I think I'm going to have to give it to Drop. He just showed up so hard in those final rounds. And, every player had something to say for the last, I think, 8 rounds of the game, honestly, on that Lancaster side. But Drop was really something else. He came from something like 10 and 20 or something along those lines and just ended up demolishing the rest of the opponents. Very impressive.
I've got a comment on Igo. I think he was so solid all the way through, and it's almost like his performance inspired the rest of the team, kind of like it's with the reverse of what happened with Crit. Crit went really, really well, and then the rest of his team just didn't deliver around him. This time we had Igo sort of topping the table and being the only player positive, and then everybody else suddenly switches on and steps up. And almost relieves him of that pressure. So for me, it's Igo, but I completely understand Drop. That was just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Igo really did pave the way for the rest of his team to show up at the end. There wouldn't have been an overtime without Igo. So, I'll give it to you. Igo was definitely, we'll give him MVP. The caster's MVP for the game. If we had a graphic, it would come up now.
It's a ceremonial sort of award, which doesn't actually mean much in the end of things. But speaking of things that mean much, we have a second game coming up. So we'll throw to a break, but don't go anywhere. So we will be back shortly. See you then.